Hello everyone and welcome back to Durbanites FPL Game Week 15 review and Game Week 16 preview. Starting as usual with the table. Chiefs still up top, 80 points the difference. The champion is back in second spot. Everything very tight there, just 5 points the difference between the next three teams. And then below that, another 17 points between those three. Everything to play for in the weeks to come. Now, looking at the player selection, some change here. Emil Smith Rowe dropping out of the stables. Not enough managers having him. Cole Palmer still in there, as well as Mo Salah and Matthias Cunha. But looking at the differentiators for the week, Jared Brown and Enzo Fernandez doing well for the respective clubs, scoring well, and Jamie Vardy coming in good with his 7th goal contribution for the league, owned by 2 out of the 12 managers. Brian Mbeumo still doing really well, owned by a quarter of the managers in the league, and William Saliba owned by a third of the managers, so all of them scoring well in the week. But where does that leave us with hits and misses? 3 hits this week. Stonewall for Azra and Squish, 20 plus points in the back line, definitely helped by William Saliba, and 1 midfield maestro there, Hassan coming in 50 plus thanks to Cole Palmer as well as Brian Mbeumo, and 1 super striker, that's the champion, 25 plus points from his front line. 1 miss this week with Mo Salah missing the game, a lot of vice captains coming into play, and Fatih picking up just 4 points because of Bukayo Saka blanking on that week. Everyone else doing pretty well with Cole Palmer or Erling Haaland. Now, looking at the best possible selection from our teams, Martinez getting the goalkeeper's jersey and Flecken his backup. Just 3 at the back, Saliba, Lewis and Stupinen. As you can see, not too many high scores there. And then the midfield loaded with Enzo, Bowen, Palmer taking the captain's armband, and Buemo. And then up front, Raul Jimenez, Vardy and Wood. And on the bench, just Enrico Pereira and Ahmad. Not a very high scoring team this week indeed. 122 excluding the bench, 138 if you bring everyone on board. Total cost of 89.3, not a bad team at all. Now, looking at the new chip that dropped, so the assistant manager chip comes with its own complications. The points are very easy. You get a manager, choose any one of them from the Premier League based on what you can afford. A win in that week will be equal to 6 points. If it's against a team that is 5 places higher, you get a bonus 10, so 16 points there. And a draw getting you 3. And again, if it's against a team 5 places or more higher, you get plus 5 points, so 8 for a draw. And then a point for each goal that's scored, and 2 points for a clean sheet. So quite a few points coming in. Some of the rules here is that it's activated once and will take place for the next 3 consecutive game weeks, so you don't get to stop and start again. And if your manager is fired in that time, he's replaced by the interim manager in that club unless you do a transfer. Most importantly, no other chips can be played in these 3 weeks. So once you've activated this chip, for the next 3 game weeks, you will not be able to play a bench boost, triple captain, or wild card, or free hit. So it's very important to consider when you play this so that you don't jam yourself on a double game week, and also important that you watch the timing so that you're not left with chips at the end of the season. Now, considering transfers, super easy. Once you bring in the manager, and again, only available from January, so game week 24 thereabouts, you're only able to bring in a new manager if you can afford him. It has to come from your existing budget. For those looking to play the chip, start creating some space to get that manager in. Then bringing him in will cost a normal transfer if you're transferring managers. The first one is considered a free transfer. Now, looking at the fixture rating, a couple of fixtures that we want to keep an eye on. Lots of teams with green fixtures coming up in the next 2 weeks. Looking at Arsenal, Aston Villa and Brighton, a good chance there to actually flip between those 3 teams and create some space for the tough encounters coming up that you can see ahead. So red and orange encounters. And then you're looking at Bournemouth having some favorable stuff. And then looking at Chelsea with a great run coming up ahead. Liverpool as well in current form, only having 2, let's say, tough matches coming up ahead. Newcastle as well, good form. Spurs again, and Wolves. And mainly we call out Wolves because they're coming to the end of the run that was giving them the best value, then coming into some very tight matches. So if you're going to score from Wolves, now is the time. Looking at who to be cautious with: Brentford, Brian Mbuemo, Visa, all of these favourites. Really tough time here. Chelsea, Forest, Brighton, Arsenal, and Man City, 5 out of the next 6 for Brentford. Everton having an insane run of 9 tough games coming up, including the 6 starting with Arsenal, Chelsea, and City. Then Nottingham Forest, Bournemouth, and Aston Villa. Leicester as well, Manchester United as well, who haven't been on the best form, to have the derby this week, Liverpool in a few weeks as well. Then you've got Crystal Palace, City, and Nottingham Forest. A lot of tough matches coming up. Doesn't mean you should shelve players on there, but just think about using them smartly in your subs bench so that you can maximize your points gain. Now looking at the back line, who can we look at as well? Vicario's out as goalkeeper for Spurs, unfortunately, but you have the choice of Alisson coming back, Robert Sanchez with that fantastic run with Chelsea now coming up, and David Raya for Arsenal. Gabriel is doubtful, as is Keane from Everton. Rico Lewis is suspended for Manchester City, and Sven Botman is still out for Newcastle. Looking at who we would pick, Arsenal still has good enough fixtures to consider Gabriel, Saliba, and Timber. If you're not so sure about Gabriel because of his injury, maybe go Saliba and Timber. Timber getting a lot of chances to score, so giving you a double threat there. Same with Alexander-Arnold and Estupinan. Estupinan starting to put together some points now with his attacking play, even though Brighton are letting in some goals. Same for Digne and Cash, and the same for Kerkez for Bournemouth, and they have a fairly good run. As you remember, we were speaking about Pedro Porro for Spurs, looking to get on the attack as well, always a goal threat. Now, looking at the midfield, Solly March is still lacking match fitness, so he's not getting a game just yet. Bob and Rodri still out for Manchester City, as is Jota for Liverpool. Gomez now joining them with the suspension, as is Pedro Neto, so not available for this week. What does that mean? With the games coming up ahead, Cole Palmer is still in the game, as is Mo Salah, hopefully getting a game this week. From Arsenal, you still got the triple threat of Saka, Martinelli, and Trossard. Saka is still not as consistent as he has been in past seasons, but between the 3 of them, you should be looking at some good points coming up. Then you've got Kluivert and Semenyo from Bournemouth, and then looking at Mario Jr. from Wolves, and then Mitoma possibly for Brighton, who's been doing really well, and Gordon for Newcastle, who'll be looking to ignite that attack. Then looking at the forwards, Richarlison unfortunately still out for Spurs, could be done for the season. Watkins picking up a knock for Aston Villa, and Callum Wilson is back in the injury list. Very unfortunate for him. But that leaves you still with some choices with Cunha and Strand Larsen. Again, a couple of weeks left for you to maximize on those players. Then you've got Watkins and Duran for Aston Villa. Duran is in stunning form, and Watkins with his injury may not get all the minutes you need. Then you've got Havertz from Arsenal if you favor him. Then looking at Solanke from Spurs, who's looking in good form and has Southampton this weekend. And then you've got Isak for Newcastle with Wilson out. He's probably going to get all the minutes he needs. Then the double pairing of Welbeck and João Pedro for Brighton. They've not been on form recently, but it's bound to come. And then looking at Nicholas Jackson from Chelsea, he has been playing as their primary striker and picking up the goals along the way. So that's what we have for now. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, drop us a comment if you want to see more. It's Derby weekend. I hope you guys are ready for Man City versus Manchester United. And I'll speak to you on the flip side of that with more details in the week to come. So long for now.